I'm going to call the meeting of the Education and Culture Committee to order. And I would like to ask Mr. Jack Baker if you would offer the prayer.
Father, we want to thank you for your love for us. We thank you for the Cherokee Nation. We ask for your wisdom and guidance in all that we do for the nation. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Kelly, would you do roll call?
Juliet Tubbs.
Here.
John Bradley. Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Kinda Glory Jordan.
Present.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
David Thornton. Kara Cowan Watts. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of the minutes from the January 15th meeting.
Move for approval.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next we will hear our reports from Career Services. Diane Kelly is not here today, but Larry Ketcher is here in her place, I believe.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon to the committee members. I understand you have a report before you written. Ms. Kelly is working on the Talking Leaves Job Corps 5-year annual report for their contract renewal. And I think that is due to be submitted by Friday, so that's why she couldn't be here. She's heavily involved in that process. Is there any questions, comments in regards to the report that was submitted? If there's none, I have a couple of things I'd like to announce, and I have some flyers. If you wouldn't mind taking one and moving it down the line. Now, this is the vocational rehabilitation have moved offices, and they're having an open house and ribbon cutting on Tuesday, February 26th, and the time is from 1 to 3 p.m. and it so states on the flyer. Bless you. They're located in the old motel, the old former lodge of the Cherokees, where all the offices are located, and room 141. So you'll find that it's on the kind of the southeast side of the area there. So it's at 1 o'clock on February the 26th, which is on a Tuesday. So I'd like to invite everybody to participate and attend that. I think they'll have some refreshments for you as well. Any questions regarding that? The vocational rehabilitation, open house, and ribbon cutting. The other thing going on in Career Services this month, there's 2 resource fairs. One is February the 19th in Jay at the Jay Community Building, and those resource fairs are going to be from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. and that's to get information out on our services. We have invited a number of training schools, other vendors to set up for informational purposes for resource fair information. That's on Tuesday, February the 19th in Jay at the Jay Community Building. The other resource fair is February the 28th on Thursday here in Cherokee County at the Talking Leaves Job Corps Center. That also is from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Talking Leaves Job Corps Gymnasium. So those 2 things are happening as well for the month of February. Madam Chairman, that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Mr. Buzzard?
Yeah, Larry, how are you getting the public relations out for these job fairs and stuff? How are you doing that too?
The resource fair, it's different than a job fair.
Okay, resource fair.
Resource fair, we're sending letters of invitation to the schools for vendor information. Then we're asking our families and our participants to participate in those activities as well.
So you're basically doing it by invitation only?
An invitation, and I think there's some PSA announcements out in the local papers.
Oh, okay. Well, I hadn't seen any history of that.
So that will be coming out shortly,
Oh.
closer to those 2 dates.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we have the Director's Report, Executive Director's Report from Dr. Morton.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and council members. First, I would like to introduce 2 new staff members in this hiring process that the Education Department has been concerned with. To date, would like also to announce that all of the persons recommended for employment thus far are citizens of the Cherokee Nation. First one I'd like to introduce would be Rita Bunch. Rita is Director of Education. She would actually be the group lead's second. And she brings to us a wealth of experience in public school teaching, public school administration, and I'm looking forward to a great deal of cooperative ventures with public schools, as well as developing new programs for the nation. So we're happy to have Rita.
And I'm very happy to join this team. I look forward to working for you and with you. And, I want to join in activities that are taking place, and I hope to, like you said, there are so many opportunities and things that we need to strive for to help our children and help, our citizenry to be more educated and to just be prepared for the future. And I look forward to working with Dr. Morton. I've known him for a long time, and I know that together and with your assistance that we can make great things happen here. And I'm so impressed with the resources and the work ethics of everybody that I've run across in the complex and in everything. So I'm very, very impressed and to be a part of this.
The next person I'd like to introduce is Bill Ando. Bill comes to us from Holland Hall, where he was Director of Fine Arts, starting a new program at Sequoia in the arts, and also a summer program that will be loosely patterned after the Quartz Mountain project in Oklahoma. Bill happens to be a board member of the Quartz Mountain project, and we're looking forward to just really opening up the whole area of arts. Bill, too, is a Cherokee Nation citizen, and we're extremely happy to have him on board. Bill?
Thanks. And Dr. Morton asked me this morning, and yes, that is my brother in the paper today. You saw if you looked in the today's Salsa World, there's an article about all of the Bank of Oklahoma Center contracts have been signed, and there's a wonderful image that Bill and Demas Glass are working on for the new arena. I'm sure you're all aware of that, and those pieces are going to be wonderful. They're like 20 feet in diameter. I'm also on that Arts Commission as well. So we've got some great Cherokee representation in the BOK Center. And the other artist, which was kind of complicated for me because I was on the selection committee, was my brother. So Dr. Morton asked me this morning if that was my brother, and yes, it is. We're really excited about getting this arts program kicked off this summer. For someone like me to come in January to say we're going to have a summer arts program, we're almost already behind schedule. But I've had a lot of cooperation. There's a lot of enthusiasm for this. We're looking at pulling in high school kids from all over the jurisdiction, and I think we're going to have a lot of great artists in as teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
I'm going to wait until Dr. Morton is finished with his
Okay.
report.
Assisting Bill will be Amanda Bruce. I'll ask Amanda to come next month to visit with you. Okay, we're ready for a report? Ready to go? One apology. In the printed documents which you received a couple of those in draft form, and I have the completed form now that will probably make more sense to you. Have more information on the car tag list. And by the way, the car tag distribution date has been set for Friday, February the 29th at 10 o'clock at Sequoia. But this list shows the distribution by county so that you can see the impact to the districts that you represent. Plus the last page will give a synopsis of how the activity has grown. So if you take one. Also, for the second annual Cherokee Nation Science and Math Fair, the school from which the winners came was inadvertently omitted from the material which you received. And I'm sure that you thought, that's nice that many people won, but I'm sure you wondered, are any of those from my schools? So this has a list by schools. As far as the different departments, when you come through the complex and see all of that confusion down in the wing, in the education wing, we're doing a lot of moving. All offices are moving so that we can cluster people in areas that we think will be more effective in delivery of service. We've relocated, for instance, the scholarship office so that it is more open, more accessible, lighter, and hopefully more inviting. We think that will be a great improvement. All of the other departments, other than the material that you have in your reports, are operating in fine fashion. I do have one other handout which was not intended to be in your report. This is not a mistake on my part. It just wasn't intended to be in your report. I have a draft copy, even though it isn't marked draft, of the Directed Studies Program application and a tentative list of the persons who might be eligible to receive funds from this program. I'd like for you to take this at your leisure, go through it, write notes on it, and if you have questions, get back in touch with me. You may find some areas that, that I think this is an important area and it's not listed on here. List it. Put it on as an area. And then the next meeting, we'll finalize it, distribute it, get applications in. I already have 3. And there may be some areas, for instance, let's take the area of nursing. I don't think on the list that was provided, and by the way, when I say the list consists of jobs that were identified by group leads as being critical, and also a list provided by Human Resources Department as jobs that are hard to fill. Now, on the hard to fill list, does that mean we need to hire all of those? No. That just means historically those jobs are hard to fill. You'll see everything from bus drivers to Cherokee language immersion teachers on that list. The other one came from group leads. You may find, for instance, the nursing is listed several times. Actually, any area of nursing would be appropriate. I visited with a young lady last week, for instance, who's interested in masters in nursing. Well, if an RN in nursing is important to us, then a master's in nursing should be that much more important to us, because that puts us into the supervisory type category. So if you would take that, look it over at your leisure. It includes some of the things we've discussed over the last few months concerning this program. It is a program that can provide wonders for us. It's also a type of program that can get out of hand if we let it. And you will notice I did write in one little provision that said continuation of this program will be dependent upon funds, because we're embarking on a program that could become extremely expensive over a period of time, but also one that will probably pay greater dividends to the labor force of the Cherokee Nation than anything that we've ever done.
Ms. Jordan, you had a question related to me?
This was directed towards Rita.
Okay?
Is she still back there? Rita, I think you told me, but I couldn't remember. Now, how are you kin to Corey? That's up
I'm
at
his
Sequoia?
aunt.
Okay.
I'm his aunt, yes.
Oh, okay. I just couldn't remember, and I was trying to think how you all.
It's my sister's son.
Okay.
Yes. She happened to marry a bunch, too.
Counselor Watts?
Thank you. I had two questions. First of all, how are you going to get the information out to the entire 14 counties? And I represent Rogers County, and I don't want to be left out. Neither does Tulsa County or Washington. So how are our kids going to know about this and be able to apply?
We don't want you to be left out. I mean, our goal is to work through the schools as much as possible.
Will that be for Daniel and that relationship or something?
Everyone that has any possible connection to school, plus mail-outs in school, plus newspaper
Okay.
releases.
And the other question is if we're going to pay this much money for these students, and thank you, I think this is Dr. Morton's too, is why do we only have a 2.0 cumulative grade point average? Would we expect at least a 3.0 or 3.2 or 3.5?
We would, but if you remember, that question came up in previous meetings where we were told that there were some professional schools which will allow a person to continue for a period of time at 2 point.
You know, I don't know what we need to do, but the lawyers may be acceptable with a 2.0 grade point average, but I would hope we wouldn't have an engineer or doctor with a 2.0. And maybe we need to have an exception or something.
That's for you to decide and for me to implement.
Counselor Cotton?
And there may be many other items that you come up with until, next meeting time.
I think we've had this discussion. I would just like to see that as long as they're in good standing with their institution that they are enrolled in, I think that's all that needs to be said.
And drop the 2.0.
Drop the 2.0.
Counselor Watts?
That's all I have.
I'll make that in a form of a motion to change that language, because I think a 2.0 set standards for stuff we don't want to do.
Second.
Any discussion?
What's the motion?
To replace the 2.0 grade point average with to be in good standing with their school or professional college.
Just for point of clarification, that'd be under number 10 on your guidelines. It would just say must remain in good standing with school.
Yeah.
Call for question.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
So Anita, if you'll make that change in the application.
Mr. Hoskins?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just one point I'd make to the outreach for this program, and really any Cherokee Nation program. In my district, I often get the sense that there are press releases, and for whatever reason, our local media maybe isn't publishing them, and you don't have much control over that. I do wonder if we could, number one, track that, and I could certainly be of assistance. Number two, copying counselors on press releases such as this would put me in a position to just walk into my editor's office and say, I'd really like to get this out. There's really a difference between night and day, frankly, and stuff that I walk into the Bonita Daily Journal and stuff that, because they get bombarded, I think. So that's just a point to make to you and any other administrator. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Watts?
Can we just get this on email so we can get it distributed to?
If you're satisfied with it at this point, definitely.
I move to accept with that amendment.
Second.
And move it forward.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Very good. With it. Good.
Are there other questions? Then thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next we have Head Start. I don't see anyone here from...
Actually, we...
have a written report here, I know, from
Yeah,
Burnett. So.
That's something that I need to clarify. Do you still want the department heads,
What's
even
the...
with, this is something that
Right.
is carried over from
Right.
a long time. If I had all of the departments here, it would take all afternoon.
Right. I see a written report from Ms. Thompson. I don't see anything in here at least, unless something was handed out that I missed. JOM, Sequoia, are they?
Those two units were late with their reports,
Okay.
and I refused to submit them late, and I guarantee you they won't be late again.
Ms. Jordan?
I would suggest to you that we need to have Verna come each and every month for this reason. I understand that she needs it for her federal certification, that
Probably
it's
a good idea.
a portion of what they ask her, and she is up for review this year, I think in April. And that was a concern, at least from my standpoint, that she might have points deducted from her, and she's always had a perfect evaluation. Or at least in the last 3 or 4 years, I think it's been perfect. And we have such an outstanding Head Start program, I wouldn't want her to lose points simply because we didn't ask her to come and give her a report.
Right. And I'm all for it, and I would not be opposed to all the departments
Yeah, I don't know
making
about
a
the
short
other
report, or at
departments.
least to be present in case you have a question.
I would just ask what the pleasure of the council is. I think if we have a written report submitted to us from each of these departments, what is the pleasure of the council? Do you want these people here to respond to questions? Is a written report sufficient? Is there any comment on Mr. Baker?
Well, I know, like, on Michael Land, it's part of his funding agency's requirement that not only he reports, but that he also have a questions and comment section. And, I mean, Tyne and I have been meeting with Head Start because they have to interview some of the council folks in their review process. And that was one of the questions that came up. How do you report to the governing body on a regular basis? And I don't think that written reports is going to be enough. And this is one of the largest programs we have at the nation. And, I mean, it employs more people and dollars and does with kids. So I, for one, think that we really need to have them at least come so that can be reported to the interviewing body.
I would just add, I've been accepting written reports and having people here and, have not been as timely with things or time-consuming about things perhaps as in some of the other committees. But I would add that I do think that it is probably, very convenient for us if people are here, that they can respond to questions that people may have, and if we do have some sort of a report from the various departments. So.
Very good.
Mr. Garvin?
I was looking at the tag money, and I noticed that District 4 had the second largest amount, and the reason probably is because they're the second largest district. Thank you.
Mr. Baker?
And a majority of them do not live in the 14 counties.
Ms. Watts?
Thank you. Well, now I totally forgot. 'Cause it was... Never mind. Thanks.
You're not even 40 yet. What's up with that?
Shoot, I'm sitting next to you, that's the problem. Oh, I know what it was. On the reports, I do think it's important that the staff are here and that we have the reports and that comments be limited to only really critical or new things that may be announced. But I'm kind of concerned why our staff's not talking through their group leads and not instead talking through the body too. So I don't understand that, but I do think we can continue on, but maybe the staff need to be reminded not to read the reports to us at times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Bozer?
Yes, Dr. Martin, I have a question for you. And it pertains to a school in Delaware County by the name of Cherokee Ford. And I understand that we're doing something outside the Cherokee Nation boundaries. Is that what I'm understanding right? For school, for tag tanks?
In other words, are we serving some schools outside the Cherokee Nation boundary?
Yes. But some of those monies go to schools outside the Cherokee Nation.
Scholarship money does.
Okay. What now? This
Car tag money does not.
Okay, this Turkey Ford School is actually in Delaware County.
Right.
But it's over the line, probably from the Seneca Cayuga is about a mile. And they don't receive any car tag dollars.
Right.
Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And is it because they're outside the Cherokee Nation boundaries that they don't receive it, although they're in Delaware County?
Right. Now, I believe that came up some time ago in council. Prior to my arrival here, had something to do with interpretation at that time of the location of the actual school house.
It is. It's a physical location of the house. Yeah. It was brought to my attention, and I actually went over and found out where the school was, and it is actually outside the Cherokee Nation boundaries, so that's what I reported to them. I want to make sure I was telling the right thing.
But that, Nita, rather. I had Rita and Nita, I'm going to change one of them. Nita, do you remember, she's our historian, do you remember when that came up? I remember hearing about it when I first came on board and there was a question about, I may have asked, how come Turkey Ford's outside? Because I was grants for Turkey Ford when I was in the grant writing business.
The contact money goes to schools whose, all
Physical
schools in
location.
counties and schools whose buildings physically lie within a 2-mile buffer outside our boundary. And GIS has run a map on Turkey Ford a couple of times, and it's just outside that 2-mile boundary.
It didn't seem to be that far, but I'm sure the GIS department did it. So it is up to 2 miles outside the boundary. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's find out. Thank you.
Counselor Fishinghawk?
What's your cost of living stipend on here? I'm curious.
The cost of living stipend would be based on University of Oklahoma cost, no matter
Can you
whether
tell me a rough amount?
go to school, up to whatever the University of Oklahoma cost is. Off the top of my head, I do not have that.
Okay, could you let me know?
The colleges and universities now, they post their information online, and they will give an analysis breakdown for you to go to their homes.
Okay, could you let me know?
And I also have OUs in our list.
Thank you.
Good call.
Counselor Baker?
Then I assume that's how Muskogee and Hilldale and those get it because they're within 2 miles. I would make a motion that we expend that limit to 2.5 miles and bring in, what was your school? Hartley.
Do what?
What was
We're
your
about to
school?
move Turkey Ford, all right?
Turkey Ford.
I'd move that we make it 2.5 miles.
Well, I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Because it couldn't be much over.
It's close.
And the reason I say that, I'm sorry.
It's a motion.
Yeah, it's a motion, so we go to discussion on that motion before we go to questions that, people who had questions previous to the motion. Is that the correct? Okay. Discussion, then? Counselor Hoskins?
So with respect to the motion, with the extending the buffer to include that school, and I don't think that's a bad idea. I might revisit the issue if I get to looking at the map and see that 3 miles might get it for some of the schools that might live outside my district. Would it include the state of Kansas, or does it have to be in the state of Oklahoma?
We have the buffer area for scholarships in Kansas, but as far as the car tag, it would not. However, this would have some implications for the boundary through Tulsa. I don't know whether that would
It doesn't affect anybody's.
extend,
May add several other schools.
may add some schools in Tulsa County, Wagner County.
And the reason I would be for this is because I checked with the school system in there. We probably don't have that many Cherokee kids go over there, but we do. It's a small school, probably less than 100 enrollment there, but there's probably 30 kids in Cherokee that live across the Elk River that go to that school over there. And, I understand we're already outside the boundaries for 2 miles, why not make it 2.5 miles? If we do it all over, I would say it had to be in the boundaries of the Cherokee Nation. That way it would be fair to everybody about it. Since it's extended for 2 miles, I've got 20 kids over there that's Cherokees, and, they're just 1/10 of a mile out, so that would be my argument about it.
Counselor Cobb, did you have a pertinent to this motion?
I do.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to looking at it, but I think you need to be real careful with Tulsa County. They just have picked up a herd of folks. You need to look at your budget in Tulsa County, and then I would, if we explore the option of going across state lines, I would definitely want the input of the 2 at-large counselors in that discussion, because I think that's another issue that the ramifications down the line may lead us down a road that we need to make sure what road we're on. So, the other thing is that I lost my train of thought. So I am 40, so I lost my train of thought. Anyway, similar. Well, I think just in light of what Councilor Hoskins said, I'm not opposed to. We brought up 2.5, we brought up 3. I think in light of that, there's a lot of questions here, so I would move to table at this point.
Second.
Motion and a second to table. That stops everything, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so we vote on the motion to table. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, so we have tabled that motion until the next committee meeting. Is that the intent, or is it just an indefinite?
I would hope until the next committee.
I would.
Education and Culture Committee?
That was my intent.
Okay.
But I would hope that Dr. Morton would do some research for us and
I'll provide you with a GIS map showing.
and maybe the motion needs to be 2.1.
I'll do some figuring and get maps to you prior to the next meeting.
Okay. I'm going to return to the questions, the lineup previous to the motion having been made, and I have Councilor Jordan next.
Well, I am over 40 and I forgot what I was going to ask. I'm sorry. Plus, I have a little bit of a cold today, so I'll have to apologize. I can't remember what it was.
You remember? We'll get you back on. Mr. Hoskins, you were...
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A couple of questions. One unrelated to the earlier topic, but CNVEN number, is that the number of Cherokee students? Is that what that means?
CNV number.
I think that's a kid code.
On the car tag list.
That's a vendor number.
Oh, okay.
That's how we get their money.
I see. Oh, I see. Students is over there. So that's the vendor number unique to each school. Back to the buffer zone question. Is there some underlying legal authority that said we could go outside Cherokee Nation, but if it came to a state line, we had to stop? With respect only to the car tag distribution.
On the car tag distribution, that, my understanding, was set by the sitting council at the time the decision was made to distribute car tag.
And in part, I guess this follow-up on what Councilor Baker said, when you follow up and look at 2.5 miles and even beyond, would you go ahead and look?
We can
into the state of
have
Kansas
some maps run,
Arkansas, for that matter.
and, at 2.5, 3, and provide you with those maps prior to the next meeting.
And it might be helpful, and this may be what you're going to do anyway, to show how it might change up the allocation. I don't know if we have enough figures on, well, maybe we don't on those other schools.
We will not have the number of Cherokee students in the schools outside the current boundary, but we certainly find out.
It seems that'd be important.
We can get a good estimate at least.
Thank you.
Councilor Cobb, I had you next. Did you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Councilor Watts? Thank you. Councilor Baker?
Yeah, and the whole philosophy on these checks to the schools was to hold the schools harmless from the money that they should have gotten had we not sold car tags.
Right.
And so if a school is 2.1 miles out, if any of their residents buy Cherokee tags, then it has created a hardship on that school. And now, if all their district is outside the 14 and none of them get car tags, then I assume that wouldn't come into play. But like in Don's district, I'm sure that there's a bunch of kids that go to Muskogee High School that live in the 14 that their parents buy tags. And consequently, that money doesn't go to Muskogee School. Thus, that's why we do it. And but I'll be surprised if just because the school's over the line in Delaware County that there aren't parents that are buying car tags that are not supporting their school by virtue of buying Cherokee tags. So, anyway.
Councilor Jordan?
I now remember my question. The number of students, is that a self-assessment by the school?
No, that is a list which we receive from the school, which then we check through registration.
And these are all Cherokee
Cherokees.
children. So
It's common for us to reject several from each list.
So with Sequoia School, we have 796 Cherokees in Sequoia School?
Counting, Sequoia includes,
Sequoia's number is double. The number they
see, we doubled that.
Okay.
A former council had a different formula for Sequoia.
So we have like maybe 300
Yeah.
something like that. Okay. The number just seemed high, and I was thinking, how are we checking this? But that's a good way to do it.
Situation where we doubled our own.
Councilor Stowe?
Yeah, is there a way we can get a list of the schools that need exception to the 2-mile extension to the...
Yes, the only ones would be the Wagner County, primarily the Wagner County, Tulsa County, LaFleur County.
Is there a way you can pull those out?
We can pull that and show you an exception there, another map to show that. There is one school that we send invitation to each year. They're inside our area. They never respond. That is Arcoma, right? So they're in, but they never respond. Either they do not have Cherokee students or they don't want to mess with it. But yeah, we'll draw the boundary all the way around within the state of Oklahoma.
Mr. Thornton?
Have you ever checked out Whitefield?
Sorry?
Whitefield? Have you ever checked that school out, see if it's
Whitefield,
It's right on the Canadian River there?
Yeah, it's
Probably.
pretty sure it's on the line would be south of Stigler, so I'm pretty sure it's out, but we'll check it.
No, it's
right on the
west of Stigler.
Yeah, so it would be
It's right on the.
just about due west.
It joins the river, so it joins the line.
Okay. We'll check it out.
I don't even know if they probably have to.
I think that Homer's been down there John's been down there for several
Oh,
years.
yeah.
I think if there was one there, he'd say he'd be.
He stays up on the lake
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah, but we'll check that out.
Counselor Jordan?
Dr. Morton, do we provide that same doubling of the numbers for Cherokee Nation Head Start and Cherokee Nation Immersion?
Do we double immersion? Only Sequoia, isn't it? Only Sequoia. Because I think when this, only Sequoia.
Well, I know at least on the Head Start program, they have to come up with a 20% in-kind money besides all of the federal money. Would that not be of assistance to them because I know their in-kind money is way down, that they may have trouble coming up with the 20% this year because it's just like everywhere else in the country, nobody's wanting to give. Would that not be of great assistance to both of those programs if we modified the rules to include them with Sequoia High School?
Especially Head Start, I would think it would be beneficial too. Since we do not have the in-kind requirement on immersion.
But there's a need for the money.
So I would think with Head Start that it definitely would be a legitimate in-kind contribution.
I would make that in the form of a motion that we treat all three of our entities in the same method and ask you all to consider that. That would mean that we would double the numbers, not only for Sequoia High School, but for our Cherokee Nation Head Start and also our Cherokee Nation Immersion Program. I must be feeling better. I'm asking more questions.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Counselor Garvin?
Just a comment, I was on the committee that worked on this, and it's a compact with the state of Oklahoma, and I made the motion that Sequoia count their students double, and this has all gone in, the state's approved it, so I don't know where we stand with the state. We've made a commitment to do it this way, and now we're going to change it. Would have to check with the state of Oklahoma?
No.
Compact's not a compact. We can do it on our own, I think, but not use the tag money.
Well, since you're already, in other words, at that point, you checked with the state of Oklahoma on doubling the number for Sequoia?
Right. It was written in the plan.
Written in the plan?
Right.
May have to amend the plan.
Mr. Baker?
Yes. I'm assuming this is for next year's distribution? That
Obviously, we already have the number.
Right, I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take away from anyone this year. I just want to help our little kids if we can.
Counselor Hoskins?
Does the compact specify a percentage, and if it does it specify that it goes to public schools, or does it just say for education? I know I've caught you on the spot, but
I believe it's for education.
if that's the case, then have we really been inconsistent if we simply allocate it differently within a larger education allocation? So I don't have the compact in front of me, but it doesn't seem to me it's inconsistent if we're spending on education, but maybe it's something we can. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Do you restate the motion? Would you restate the motion?
That for next year's allotment of car tag money, that we allow the same formula to be used for the Head Start program and the immersion program that we use for Sequoia High School.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
What, is that going to include all the schools now, or are they already getting money? The younger kids?
They're already getting money.
Already getting it?
Takes money away from
The motion carries then. Are there other questions of Dr. Morton? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next order of business is old business, and there is none, so we move to new business, and there is none. Are there any announcements? Seeing none, hearing none, our next meeting then is scheduled for March 11th at 1 p.m. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.